To begin, I would request Mr. Bimal Gokuldas, President ICC, to kindly give a welcome address. As you are aware, Bimal Gokuldas ji is President of ICC and is also the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer at the DMCC Specialty Chemicals Limited, formerly known as the Dharamsi Morarji Chemical Company Limited. Mr. Bimal Gokuldas.
So good morning to all of you. I'd like to welcome Ms. Neelkamal Darbari, who is Chairperson, National Authority of Chemical Weapons Convention, and also from the Cabinet Secretariat of Government of India. Is it not working? Better now, yeah. Thank you. So I'd like to welcome Ms. Neelkamal Darbari, Chairperson of the National Authority Chemical Weapons Convention, part of the Cabinet Secretariat, Government of India. Also, Mr. H.K. Rajora from HPCL Mittal Energy Limited. Mr. Prabdas was supposed to join us. He couldn't be here today. So Mr. Rajora is in his place. And of course, Mr. Yogesh Kothari, who's our guest of honor today, and Ravi Kapoor and Sudhir Dev, and of course all of you in the audience. I think for those who were present yesterday, it was a really very interesting day. I think the topic of sustainability is such that initially you look at it as a cost, and then you look at it as long-term returns. But what's happening is the world is changing now, and we are seeing the impact of climate change everywhere. So there are also technologies developing. The optimistic part is that we as humans are also adapting. We are bringing in technology not just for the end of pipe treatment or reducing our effluent, but also in improving our operational efficiencies. And that by itself reduces what goes into our effluent and automatically reduces the effluent. So it's also a cost saving. There are many, many technologies available to reduce our energy consumption, to replace conventional energy with renewable sources. There were discussions on green hydrogen. There were discussions on, of course, solar, wind, all that. And, now solar is becoming more competitive than coal, which was otherwise considered the lowest cost. So the other thing is that we are also seeing opportunities from finance-related sources, because money is now available for process development, for technology upgrades, particularly when it comes to reducing our carbon footprint, reducing our water footprint, as well as keeping this climate change target of 1.5 degrees, which we are currently losing the race, but I think that target should be maintained, and let's see if we can accelerate our efforts. So while there are threats, while there are challenges, we have to be optimistic. All of us are in business. Because we are in business by default, we are optimists, So we have to be optimistic. We have to keep working at it, and I'm sure that ultimately, at least from the chemical industry side, we'll see the results. Today again, we've got a lot of good presentations. I don't want to take more of your time on that, and let me hand it back to Mishra ji with that. Welcome to you all. Good to see you here. I hope you enjoyed yesterday, and I'm sure you'll continue that same today as well. Thank you.
Thank you for the welcome address, Mr. Bimal Gokuldas. Now you'll have to do the pleasant duty of welcoming with a bouquet our chief guest, Ms. Neelkamal Darbari, and the other people on the dais. You may have to do the honor for the other guests as well. He's confused. No, no, you're the host, but at this point of time, starting of the opening session, we do wish to welcome you.
I think what I can do is take it and give it back to him.
No, well, I'll give it to him. I'll take that honor.
Guest of honor.
Guest of honor, yes.
Like
To
guest of honor, but guest of honor.
Yogesh Bhai.
One more. Don't worry.
Let's get it. Come this way and that way. Yeah, this way. And that way.
To Mr. Dev. We still have one left. So if you have returned it to Bimal, so thank you, thank you. So I'm now going to request Mr. Ravi Kapoor, Conclave Chairman, Sustainability Committee, ICC, and MD Hoybach Color Private Limited to do the context setting for today after all the proceedings of yesterday. Mr. Ravi Kapoor.
Thank you, Mishra ji. So good morning. I hope you had a thought-provoking sleep from yesterday, whoever were there yesterday, because we had a very intense and a very interesting session. But before that, I have to say it gives me especially great pleasure, to welcome Madam Neel Kamal Darbari, because we've had kind of a relationship which goes 15 years ago. She's really one, and the best comment she made was that when we met in the morning, it feels like I've come home. So I think this is let's give her a big hand on that, So our association has been, also part of the initiatives that ICC has taken on the Chemical Weapon Convention. But, I just want to go ahead so we get this event kicking today. Yesterday was a very interesting day, and we had various initiatives that were discussed. I think the most important point that needs to be noted came out, and then going forward. There is a paradigm change in the way now that we look at sustainability. And this change comes also for me from two or three things. One is that it's actually becoming commercially viable. Who would have thought actually at one point of time that signing up for solar energy would actually be a profitable venture? You can do contracts today that you actually save 2 rupees or 2 rupees 50 paisa on a 15-year contract. This actually happened. In the past, there was always this little element of being in with really the nice people and being in with, let's say, the buzzwords, whether it was, wind power, solar power, and then you had these long paybacks. Government had to step in to give you 100% depreciation. It was kind of SOPs which were pushing this. I'm very happy to see that if you really look at solar, for instance, renewable power, today, there are contracts in Maharashtra. I see Adnan here, so his old company or his good memories, it's actually signing a contract for, something like 15 years on a contract which gives you 2 rupees, below cost from government grid. So this is the one change that I see. The other change I see, that the way CEOs, boards, and all kind of stakeholders now look at sustainability. No longer they look at sustainability, yaar chalo theek hai, bolo kya hai yaar, come on, let's finish this and then, move out. Boards no longer look at it this way. Financial institutions don't look at it this way. Yesterday we had a talk on ESG. So if you look at ESG, there was an interesting question in the CEO forum yesterday. How much of ESG is SNG, and have we really somersaulted the E, which is environment, social, and governance? And of course, to be honest, the answer was we still need to fix our E fully and properly. But the SNG is right there on the agenda, and there's no doubt about it. If you simply look, the other proof in the pudding lies in the taste, like they see. If you look at the last 4 editions that we had, just look at the events and the subjects of these sessions today versus what we had 4 years ago. I think Mishra ji will agree, it's evolved. And that's one of the other things which is very interesting. Today, The first session will talk of green growth opportunities. If I had done it 4 years ago, the audience would have got a glaze and maybe 25% would have taken a nap or something. So this is evolving in a way where we actually find the traction. I'm not saying it's still done and it's dusted, but it started. The second session, we talk leveraging cleaner energy. Energy was an issue, and for us, sometimes the product cost is 8%, 10, 15, whatsoever of the total COGS. And depending on that, we used to take interest in energy. But it was restricted, to be honest. Can I shift to coal? So if I shift to coal, then I save this much. And I stand as guilty because that's what we have done. Okay, and that was driven purely by economic considerations. So you did move to coal. It's not the best, of solutions. But we tried to do, let's say, one on bio-waste. So now we talk cleaner and greener and sustainable energies, which actually start to look real. There are real commercial benefits which actually come out. And this is the second session that you got. The third session that we have, and this is again interesting, for us, this is primary because I have to make a candid confession. Safety has not been at the top of our agenda. And also boardrooms across the world, they actually start with a session and declaration of what the safety record of the company is. Were there near misses? Were there accidents? This is actually core. And safety now comes to the forefront because it's well proven, without any doubt. I'm not going to quote you stats. Company with a safety track record, which is at the highest, is one of the most successful. So success and safety now get kind of, a different kind of an importance than from before. So based on that, ICC also has set up a safety committee led by the vice president. And safety becomes a key issue because it's not only what happens to the employee or the company or the downtime or man hours lost or work days lost. It's actually the reputation of the company and reputation of the country. Now this has become really, if you look at one explosion and one fire in China, actually did so much damage to China that they went 3 years, 4 years back. One big fire, one big explosion set things back and changed things many ways the way government was looking. So safety, and I think it would be silly to not learn from others' mistakes and want it to happen here and then learn. I think that doesn't make sense. So safety is the subject again, which is one of the important subjects. And then this is a very interesting session. We kind of discussed it, embracing net zero transition opportunities. So this is for me my favorite subject because the net zero declaration, and if you look, I'm half the time spending time in Europe talking to customers, big customers, stakeholders. Almost every meeting that we go to, the first thing discussed really is what are we doing about carbon neutrality. That's really what the subject is today. What are we doing scope 2, scope 3? So there are people who are experts and they'll tell you a little bit more on this. This is really going to be a key issue. This is a key opportunity as well. This is a key opportunity to the chemical industry. So this particular conclave, I would say, if it even ignites 5 ideas, 6 ideas in the people who are here who are highly competent and capable, and at least also from ICC's perspective makes a clear declaration that we see opportunities. We see difficult times, but we see more opportunities coming out simply because Indians are the most innovative people. I have my Turkish friend, I don't know, but he says I am half Indian, so he's nodding. I think you agree. Indians are pretty innovative. And in the end, I think we can take this opportunity to get technologies to work into areas, to work on green chemistry, to work on all kind of projects in a manner. And we also have our academia, which is amongst the best in the world, combining, which ICC is doing, by the way, collaborating with academia to come out with best technologies. There are many projects, so I don't want to get into it. Maybe later Bimal can. So with that, I want to just leave it open for today's sessions, which will be very exciting, very interesting. Before that, I would like to thank everybody on the stage for being here. Thank you for being here, because I think you can have the best of sessions, but it's pretty amiss without an audience who's listening. And we have a high-quality audience. I'm sure that you'll find this day very interesting. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kapoor, for going down the program today and all the attractive and intensive sessions which are due during the day. I would now like to call Mr. H.K. Rajora, Vice President of HMEL, to give the special address. He has been nominated by Mr. Prabdas, who's MD of HMEL, but yesterday evening he developed fever. And earlier when you had fever, you thought, okay, I stay back. These days if you have fever, you feel I have to stay back not only for my recuperation, but also to protect others. And therefore the moment that signal comes, they say, no, let's keep away. So we have Mr. Rajora from HMEL. You're aware that it was a greenfield project that was set up in Bhatinda in Punjab, and now they are in an expansion mode. And one little tidbit, Mr. Prabdas was Joint Secretary in Petroleum when I was Joint Secretary in Department of Chemicals, and we worked together on the PCPR policy. Mr. Rajora, floor is yours.
So good morning, my fellow panelists, leaders from the industry, government officials, and this August gathering. We are thankful to ICC to creating this forum where this important subject of ESG, circularity, carbon neutrality is being discussed today. Yesterday, I understand that a lot of debate has already taken place. And I just want to share that how this environment, everybody is today aware of the environment. I just want to give two examples. Like today, other than the Sensex, we also now see the air quality index. Everybody who has a TV want to see what is the index. Why our sky is not looking that blue, which I have seen it somewhere else. So people are aware, like everybody is aware. Everybody want to see why the gray sky. The second example, we had a 25 years reunion of IIT, my classmates. And we had to shift the date because people from US didn't want to come in the month of December and January because the pollution is very bad. So now, if we can, we are changing our plans to ensure that we are going where the environment is good, better. So everybody is aware of this. And now this has reached to our boardroom. As the theme of this conference is that we have really reached to it boardrooms. The pandemic also enhanced this awareness in a manner. Somewhere it taught us about health, hygiene, and the awareness level has really, I would say, doubled, tripled, even in a country like ours, where so much importance was not given to these aspects. But today, every company, big or small, is talking about these aspects in their boardroom, in their annual reports, to their investors. So everywhere, it's a buzzword. If you are not talking about it, then there is a problem with the company. Many products, this is a USP. Like to quote an example, there are many companies making luggage. Somebody who can make luggage with a reusable material is wanting to charge more. They are ready to pay more for the recycled material just to get that green tag. So, and customer is ready to pay. So it is also becoming a USP. So these are some of the things. Now, government has also taken a lot of initiative in India in terms of solar power, biofuels, green hydrogen, and we are getting into green ammonia even, because hydrogen cannot be transported, so transportation is easier through green ammonia route. So government has already taken a lot of initiative into this area. What we need is more R&D into these areas and more investment. See, Mr. Kapoor said that things have become cheaper and hence getting adopted. I would like to put it in a different manner. We have to adopt them and then things will become cheaper. Because today, India is one-sixth of the population is in India. If we do something, if we decide to do something, it will become cheaper. We need to invest a lot of money into R&D and technology development, which will help us in getting better results. The areas that I would like to reflect upon is energy, where solar power and things like that are getting introduced, building and construction, transportation, like auto fuel is going out and EV is coming in, is a big impact. Chemicals, where safety, sustainability are a major thing, and this whole conference is around that chemical sector. And the last thing is the waste management. We have to learn how to manage our waste. Our country, wherever we go, we see dirt, filth. All that is because we don't have the waste collection system. Once waste is collected and segregated, it can be reprocessed, and we can have more value. So that's another area where in our country we have to do a lot of work on the waste management. Now, I would like to come to these four pillars which we have talked, ESG, from boardroom to community. Now, sustainability is fast becoming a key priority for corporates around the world, both linked to their company branding strategy as well as expectation of their shareholders. The modern business firm is now tasked with being more than profit-driven, revenue-generating machine. Business today are expected to have an extra layer of ethics and moral duty towards the society. There has been a corresponding shift in the mindset of investor, with priorities expanding to include sustainable growth along with the primary goal of wealth creation. Boardroom of industries have taken note of this and have started embedding practices to ensure that these requirements are met and efforts are being made to connect with community for sustainable growth. On carbon neutrality, the country has already pledged that by 2070, our country would become carbon neutral. Each company is also, many companies in India also have pledged that by 2040, 2035, they will do certain things. And I am sure that they all are working towards it. It's not only greenwashing, they are actually on the grounds doing a lot of work. Government initiatives, some of them like LED bulbs, I would say is a revolution. All the old bulbs we don't see anymore. Now everything is LED. Ujjwala, this LPG introduction, is also in that area where now 90%, more than 90% of our population have access to LPG. And they are not burning wood or other fuels, which is good for environment. I would say for carbon neutrality, these are some of the enablers. A feedstock to produce high-value chemicals, CO2 capture and utilization would be affected by what is the feedstock that we are using for our chemicals. Oil to chemical, as auto fuels are going out, crude oil would be used for making chemicals. And this is one area where most of the growth will take place. In a country like ours, developing country like ours, chemicals and petrochemical is the future. We have low carbon energy. Low carbon energy would means our hydrogen, solar. So these are the areas that we are getting into. The new thing which we have started is a biofuel, like ethanol. Government has already announced. Today we have achieved 10% before time. And now by 24-25, we are going for 20% ethanol blending petrol. It is all to reduce carbon footprint in the country. Green mobility is EV-related thing. Decarbonization of energy-intensive industries, modernizing and decarbonizing energy-intensive industry through adoption of green technology and standards. Green building, promoting green cities, energy-efficient building, and green construction technology in future. Then next item, which is also helpful, is sustainable agriculture. We are transforming to make our agriculture also sustainable by different method of farming, different agrochemicals and all those things. Development is taking place in the country in that area. The second pillar is operational safety. Chemical industry, we all are fully aware that how safety is very, very important for all our plants, for us, and to sustain our development, to remove the negativity towards chemical industry in the minds of general public. We need to ensure that we have the highest standard of safety in our plants. Greener solutions. There I would like to put little bit emphasis on the circularity of our products. We can reuse, we can reprocess. Today, it is not only recycled material, it is upcycled material. And as I have given an example of the luggage industry, upcycle is happening in many places. The water bottle today can be made from the recycled PET. And already world over, many places this is being used. Even the food container can be made out of the recycled material. And the brand owners, big brand owners like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, they are wanting to use such recycled material which can be used even with the food stuff. And they are willing to pay more. So the industry, we have to now start thinking in terms of how we can do better recycling of our material and how we can continuously reuse, recycle these material is the area where every industry need to rethink. Lastly, I would like to say some of the initiative which HMEL has taken in these areas. We are entering into retail business like petrol pump, and we have decided at all our petrol pump there will be EV charging facility, there will be CNG, to meet not only petrol, diesel, but all other, energy-saving fuels would be available. We are putting up a ethanol plant, grain-based ethanol plant, at our close to our refinery. It's a 300 KL per day plant, and this will be used for MS blending. We are also entering into area of solar energy. And with solar energy, we would like to make hydrogen, which is required in our plant. And additional hydrogen we can also, market through ammonia route. So that's another thing. So we are working. Today, we do not have all solutions. We admit that all solutions are not there, but we are working towards making and achieving this carbon neutrality for our company and for the country. Thank you very much.
For sharing your thoughts as well as the future areas of growth from HMEL. I would now like to request Mr. Yogesh Kothari, CMD, Alkyl Amines Chemicals Limited, to kindly give his guest of honor speech. Now, Mr. Kothari is the Chairman and Managing Director of Alkyl Amines Chemicals Limited, which he founded in 1979. He's a chemical engineer and did his graduation from Institute of Chemical Technology, Mumbai, and subsequently obtaining a master's in chemical engineering, and also studied his master's in management sciences from University of Massachusetts, Lowell. He has been past president of ICC, and ICC has also conferred the Lifetime Achievement Award on Mr. Yogesh Kothari. And one of the interesting things that we noticed, and amongst all in terms of leaders of the chemical industry, is that not only the industry is knowledge-based, all the leaders are very knowledge-intensive, are very knowledgeable people in the technologies, in the substance, etc. Yogesh bhai, the floor is yours.
Well, I'm not that knowledgeable, but I'm surprised that I've been given this honor of giving this speech. Thank you very much, people on the task. I'm, first of all, not a good speaker. I will just maybe read out a little bit what I have prepared. Let me start with saying that the chemical industry is one of the most important industries in India, which is catering to most of the other industries. It is one of the most innovative industries in terms of creating new products and solutions for making life easy and meeting the changing needs of the society in terms of better products. While meeting the needs of better products, chemical industry also needs to take care of about the impact of its operations, products on the environment and people, designing products with low imprint on environment, lowering their carbon footprint, focus on the renewable sources of energy away from fossil fuels, and working towards a carbon neutral world to the extent possible. When we talk about sustainability in the chemical industry, in my opinion, some of the main issues involved are reducing pollution, emissions, and the hazardous leaks, minimizing the impact on the people, planet, and the environment, improving efficiencies in energy consumption, reducing waste and ways to utilize the waste product, employee health and safety, gender diversity in hiring, adoption of transparency measures. There could be many more different focus areas for different companies. The complex nature of the chemical industry demands that sustainability includes the entire supply chain, including the downstream users. One of the most important aspects on which the companies are focusing now is ESG. Investors and companies are working towards it. I am happy that the Indian chemical companies have realized this important aspect for creating value out of ESG, and the Conclave by ICC is very timely effort in this direction. It is equally important to understand what are the main factors that are driving the sustainability in the chemical industry. If I can summarize it, there are three main factors: concerns over the environmental impact leading to the climate change, stakeholders' expectations, financial benefits, and creating new opportunities for businesses. As a chemical industry, what we can do to improve towards sustainability journey is follow the regulations and even go beyond what is required by the regulatory frameworks. We have responsible care initiative to guide us for taking us beyond what needs to be complied. Adoption of technologies in all areas of our operations, improving efficiencies. Collaborations among industries with R&D institutions, technology providers, realigning our supply and value chain, etc. These are interesting times for chemical industry in India. Our government is also working hard to provide all the necessary support and removing hurdles for the better work of environment for the industry. I'll just briefly mention the significance of ESG, environmental. The first pillar of ESG focuses on the effects on the physical, natural environment across the globe. How we produce, consume, and discard has a significant adverse impact on the natural world. Social, it's only nature that is needed to be considered. It is not only nature that is needed to be considered. How employees and local communities are affected also must be taken into account. Considerations include: are human rights respected? Is the end consumer respected, protected from unsafe products or practices? How is the personal data of individuals protected? Governance is also to do with making sure that there are systems in place to ensure accountability within the corporation. Considerations include transparency of process and procedures, clear anti-bribery and corruption practices, policies, ensuring boards are composed of independent members. In a simple manner, the main objective of ESG norms is basically to ensure that businesses are conducted in a more responsible manner, the business enterprises constitute and are considered as critical components of the social system, and they are accountable not merely to their shareholders from a revenue and profitability perspective, but also to the large society, which is also its stakeholder. Hence, adoption of responsible business practices by companies to cover the ESG aspects are as vital as the financial and operational performance compliances. Thank you.
Thank you, Yogesh Bhai, for taking down in terms of the activities and challenges that are before the chemical industry. I now request our chief guest, Ms. Neelkamal Darbari, to kindly give her address. Ms. Neelkamal Darbari is an IAS officer of the 1987 batch and is currently the chairperson of the National Authority for Chemical Weapons Convention, NACWC, in the Cabinet Secretariat. She steers the National Authority in meeting the obligations of the Government of India towards the shared goals of India and the Chemical Weapons Convention to make the world free from chemical weapons. But there is an additional responsibility, and that is one thing that I keep highlighting. In the Chemical Weapons Convention, there is Article 11, promotion of peaceful uses of chemistry. And that came in when the developing countries were being told that this convention is going to be agreed upon, etc. They said, what's in it for us? We don't have chemical weapons. Then why should we join the Chemical Weapons Convention and commit to destroy the chemical weapons? That's where Article 11 was added for promotion of chemicals for peaceful uses of chemistry, and that's where a lot of activities now OPCW and national authorities also doing, and national authorities supporting us in terms of the help desks in the region. And there is an additional reason when as she told Mr. Ravi Kapoor, that when she comes amongst the chemical industry, she feels that she is back to her home place. That's because she was Joint Secretary in the Department of Chemicals and Petrochemicals, and therefore very familiar with all the issues and problems and programs of the chemical industry. Ms. Darbari, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kumaresh Mishra. Esteemed members on the dais, Mr. Ravi Kapoor, Mr. Gokul Das, Mr. Kothari, Mr. Rajora, and others in the audience. It gives me immense pleasure to be here in this event on sustainability, which ICC has organized. I mean, ICC does represent a very, very large section of the chemical industry in the country, and the bodies affiliated or aligned with it would consume, or rather be catering to the entire chemical industry in the country. And therefore, for them to take up issues of sustainability, because oftentimes one hears that there's a conflict between the growth of the industry and sustainable goals. But I think that there is a meeting ground, and increasingly this realization has come about that there is no need for conflict between growth, development, and environmental consciousness or sustainability. And therefore, for ICC to take the lead and to accept that there is also a responsibility towards growth in a responsible manner, and that of course is very heartening. And to reinforce that year after year through the conclaves, this flagship program that they have, is even more welcome. So I always look at chemical industry and petrochemical industry as drivers of growth. So kind of society that we are, which is hugely aspirational, and we have a middle class which has only just gotten into the game of consumerism, if I may say that, and the quality of life, the aspirations and prosperity as it has increased, it has also led to increased usage of chemicals in whatever form, whether it is in construction industry, whether it is in pharma, whether it is in agriculture. I mean, you name it and you have a role for the chemical industry in the everyday life of people of India. And to say that there is harmful effects of chemistry is only underscoring half a point, if I can say that. There is really no dearth of examples to say how chemical products can actually play a more positive role in improving the quality of life of ordinary human beings. Whether it is, as I have already said, through pharmaceuticals, or it is through a better quality of housing, or it's even for providing employment opportunities. And if we look at the sustainability goals, it is always said that first and foremost we have to look at removal of poverty or reduction of poverty, and therefore employment, therefore economic development, therefore infrastructure, therefore improved agriculture practices, and therefore a lot of other things which would really in a holistic manner contribute towards achieving the sustainable development goals. But there is also the realization as to what role industry can play in helping that goal be achieved. And typically one comes up with the idea of technology. In fact, when I was in the chemical ministry, I had an opportunity to go to Japan and a place near Tokyo, I think it was Kawasaki, that zero emission that we talk about, I have actually seen that maybe 15 years back, 12 certainly. And this is really, I mean, I'm sure many of you are aware of it, and similar examples elsewhere on this planet, is how one man's waste, one industry's waste is other industry's feedstock or raw material. Till you get to carbon dioxide, even then that is trapped from the environment emissions and converted into some kind of carbonated liquid. So really zero emission is possible. It has been seen to work beautifully, and everything can be created into wealth. There is nothing like waste, and in this country the realization has begun by how we can convert waste into wealth. You reduce, you reuse, but also eventually you convert it into something which is useful for humanity, whether it is converting waste into energy, or it is using it for some other kind of product, which can be, as Mr. Rajora was mentioning, that it has become the USP of many companies to look at polymers, recycled plastics, etc., as fabrics, or as some other product like suitcases and luggage materials, which can draw a premium actually. So waste is, and reused waste is something which is contributing to the economy and to the environment. So it is exactly the example of how the two are not in variance with each other, not in conflict with each other, and how only through technology and through this consciousness in the boardrooms that we can actually achieve this. Now the problem lies somewhere else, I would say. The problem, not the problem, but I think it's a process of evolution which we have to really look at. So many decisions taken in the boardroom are actually difficult to transmit down the assembly line or on the factory floors. And what to talk of factory floors, even at homes when we look at our waste, or in the construction industry we look at our waste, what happens? So typically you are told by your RWA, you please segregate your waste at home, wet waste versus dry waste, or a green waste versus your plastic and tins and bottles, etc., whatever classification. But really, does it lead to the point of actual disposal where they are still segregated and handled separately? No. Even outside your door, the person who's collecting, door-to-door garbage or waste is probably mixing it all up. So that is the last mile connectivity which always bothers me, and chemical waste would be in the nature of something similar, if not adequately addressed. So typically, the environment, of course, is our priority, because what we inherited on earth is something better that we have to leave behind for our children. That consciousness is there. One hears stories about little kids, in Delhi having to suffer from asthma, or if those who are already asthmatic, having problems during this season in Delhi. Environmental pollution, whether it is coming through crop residue burning, or it is coming through vehicular traffic emissions, or a combination of a lot of other factors. Fact of the matter is, there are technological solutions available to all of this. We have seen in the past also that certain steps have been taken by governments, and we talk about ESG. So there is consciousness, but eventually I think it is also about society to realize as to what is it that we need to be doing to be able to leave behind an earth which provides a good quality of life for its people, at the same time doesn't cause undue damage to the environment. Very small example I'll tell you. I have 2 plants in my office. Yesterday we observed that one of the plants is nice and green, and it's a palm, and it's nice and green and fresh green, so you can see there's life in it. The other one is not so good, and it's almost dying. So I asked the office boy, I said, what do you think is going wrong here? He said, ma'am, the little water that I put in this plant is different from the water that the Mali puts in the other plant. And what is the difference? He says, whatever is left over from the drinking water, which you bring from home, I'm putting it in this plant, which is filtered water, from the RO system. So this plant is healthy because the water it gets is healthy. Whereas the other plant, I'm not, because thoda sa pani bachta hai, wo main isme dal deta hu aapke ghar ka. And the other plant is not surviving so well. So if it is possible to look at clean water, what is the role of chemical industry in providing clean water to the masses, not to the classes? So those are the things I always look at from the perspective of the citizens and ordinary people in the country, whether it is in the rural areas. I mean, rural economy, rural ecology, rural environment are also as much to be, areas of concern as in the urban areas. Of course, by virtue of density of population, urban areas do pose a greater threat to the environment. I'm not denying that, but standalone basis, if you look at rural economies, they're also struggling to keep their environment clean. And just talking on the dais with Mr. Kapoor, and we said, so much of the construction debris that you find, houses being demolished, and waste material, just all of that being lumped together and disposed of. Now that also contains electrical fittings, wires, metal, your paints and dyes and stuff that has no business to be mixed with rubble of the concrete variety. But it is being mixed and it is not being recycled. If it is being recycled, it is perhaps not realizing adequate value for the mix that is available in that mess. So there is, again, cannot overemphasize the role of technology in bringing all these things into greater reuse so that you can either derive energy from it, or you have some other product coming out of it, or you even have recycling of the same material for the same purpose, like briquettes, etc. But the chemical industry is poised for growth, and I see great opportunities both domestically, as I think our consumption, per capita consumption of chemicals in India is, I think, about 1/10 of the global average or high-consuming society. So we are still on the lower consumer phase of the life cycle of chemical usage. So there is possibility of growth. There is certainly going to be growth, and I am aware that there are certain companies sitting here who have achieved phenomenal growth in their product life cycles, and the level of exports also is poised for growth. Today, I'm told that chemicals as a class of products is contributing the highest to the export basket from India. And, they are conforming to all the international norms, whether it is responsible care or it is even in transportation that you have this nicer globe, yeah. So there is a whole lot of things which the industry is doing, and looking at the growth potential of the industry, whether it is for the domestic market or for the export market. I think the awareness that this all needs to be brought together with the perspective, watching it from the prism of sustainability, that, and also that something being from boardroom to the community or to the society. So I would say that is actually the real challenge. All boardrooms acknowledge that there is a need for adhering to sustainable development goals and to providing cleaner technologies. Yet somewhere we miss the point down the line, whether it is in the society or in the workforce or whatever. So there is need for a lot of awareness generation, a lot of capacity building, a lot of training, a lot of institutions of chemistry that are existing in the country, whether it is honorary universities doing chemistry degrees or it is specialized research organizations of the CSR or whatever. There is a greater need for interface with the industry so that those who are your future employees are also aware of what is the requirement in terms of, societal goals that we have set for ourselves as a global community, as a very conscious and enlightened member of the global community. So I think there is that lot of convergence which is required to happen. It is happening. I'm not saying it's not happening. It is happening, but a greater emphasis on capacities, on training, on awareness, and on translating the vision of the board to the last man on the delivery line. I think those are the issues that would make this game tick for longer duration and take away some of the sting which comes the way of the chemical industry. So if we do that demonstrably, we are doing it, but we can talk about it openly and with courage and conviction and confidence that yes, this is exactly what we have done, then I think the purpose of conclaves such as this, which ICC has set up, would be achieved. So congratulations and thank you very much for organizing this, and I look forward to more interaction with you at different times. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Darbari, for sharing your thoughts and talking about the responsibility of the industry in different areas. And as you are aware, and you've also mentioned responsible care, chemical industry is one of the industry. First, of course, it's very knowledge-based, led by knowledgeable leaders and committed to sustainability towards, and that's why this session on From Boardrooms to Community. And coming to responsible care, and of course the National Authority and Chemical Weapons Convention, they have a basic principle called trust but verify. So many of you are familiar with declaring to the National Authority, to the OPCW through National Authority under the Chemical Weapons Convention, and yet you also find inspectors coming into your plant to inspect what you have declared. So it's trust but verify. Now, the ICC, as a member of ICCA, International Council for Chemical Associations, pursues responsible care and manages it, distributes to ensure, as Mr. Ravi Kapoor yesterday was mentioning, the 7 pillars that are there, which also include the 7th pillar now of security. So they are promoting that, and we are happy that we have 3 companies here who have been recertified. And it's interesting thing is about responsible care is, it's not that once you have the logo, you are perpetually with the logo. You still have to demonstrate by visit of independent auditors who will check out that whether what you have committed, you are following it or not. So we have 3 companies today who were recertified after 3 years, and they will be handed over the responsible care certificates, the logo certificates. And as I mentioned, that it globally works and functions under the aegis of the International Council of Chemical Associations, and ICC as a full member and a designated nodal body has, for implementation, assessing and granting the responsible care logo, has been certified after rigorous inspection by 3 or 4 independent auditors. So now I would like to call the representatives of Bayer Vapi Private Limited to kindly accept their recertification certificate of responsible care. And this will be handed over by our chief guest, Ms. Darbari, to the company. And we have Mr. Narendra K. Shah, Director and Site Manager, Mr. Nileshwar Kumar Patel, and Ms. Sonali Dev. And as was mentioned, that out of all the companies, we are moving on. So it's a kind of a motivation for others also to accept the responsible care logo. The next company is Covestro India Private Limited. I would request Mr. Kumaragaru Veluraj to kindly come and accept the recertification. certificate. And then we have Indian Additives Limited. I would request Mr. A.C. Sarvanan to kindly come and accept the recertification certificate. So not only they got themselves certified, but after 3 years they've got themselves recertified as well. Thank you very much. And so now I would request Mr. S.R. Dev, Managing Director, NOSIL Limited, to kindly propose a vote of thanks.
All my fellow panelists and participants, a very good morning. First, I would like to compliment ICC North Chapter for holding this on these specific dates, because when this conclave is going on, also COP27 is going on in Egypt. I don't know whether it's a coincidence or it was decided that we will go along with COP27, but I think it's a great event which you have organized, and my compliments to the whole team. Just few things which happened in COP27. I think in the inaugural speech, there was a term which was used quite frequently, which is greenwashing. Basically, the multinationals in the Western world who hold assets in the developing countries, they are selling their assets to the local entrepreneurship to show a drastic reduction in carbon footprints on their balance sheets. And in the inaugural speech, there was an objection on this, because then you are not really doing the sustainability for which the whole conclave was organized. Yesterday, I think some of the European countries have recommended a carbon tax on cement and steel coming from developing countries. And I must compliment the Indian delegates who really were forthright in putting the objectives of the country and ensuring that such type of taxes are denied. So it was a very wonderful thing which was happening in Egypt, and I'm just talking about it because when we talk about sustainability, some of these incidences which are happening at global level, they can also affect us as chemical industry. I think we have talked a lot about environment in last 2 days. I think I look at environment very differently, because if we look at a chemical industry, and particularly if we look at our effluents, I think what the effluent contains is probably the raw materials, the intermediates, and finished products. And if you really do a costing of this, how much raw material, how much intermediates, and how much finished products we are killing the molecules at the end of the treatment, I think the CFOs will be very delighted if a technical man says that, yes, we can take it back. So I think instead of looking at effluent treatment, which is end of the pipeline solution, we should start looking at the front end in terms of technology. And let me tell you, at NOSIL, we had a phenomenally great experience in terms of demonstrating that it is possible. Of course, it was not NOSIL alone which we did it. We brought in a lot of academic institutions, we brought in a lot of CSIRs, we created research projects, and we could successfully do it. And this is one of my very favorite topics, which I keep on talking at all ICC forums, that this country has an immense talent in academics, in CSIRs, in industries, and if we create a forum and start looking at our technologies, I think sustainability would be a very easy target for us. So just a thought process, I'm leaving. Madam, thank you very much for bringing in practically day-to-day issues to the sustainability objectives, and it was very, very enlightening. I think you really give the perspective of the nation in terms of how the nation is going to move in terms of green objectives, and that was a great perspective. Vimal Bhai and Ravi Bhai, they always talk their hearts, okay? And I know safety is very, very close to heart as far as Ravi Bhai is concerned. And I think that emphasis on safety was really good. Yogesh Bhai happens to be the Bhishmacharya of ICC and the Bhishmacharya of chemical industry. And Yogesh Bhai, your perspective was great. Thank you very much. Also, I thank all the participants for coming over here and listening to this very enlightened panel discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dev. Now we have the pleasant duty of expressing our gratitude by a small token, and I would request the Director General of Indian Chemical Council to kindly hand over our token of gratitude to the chief guests and the other guests. What you find in this is a notepad and a couple of pens. Each one of them contains seeds of plants. So once they're used, you put it in the soil and a plant would grow. And it's not a weed, it's a real plant and a flowering plant and different plants. A little way of showing that we want to do carbon capture and carbon sinking. Thank you very much. So this brings us to the end of the inaugural session, opening session of today. And then we'll move on to, we have a short networking tea break, but as we are running behind time, what we are going to request again is to grab your tea, grab your little bite, and come back to the room so that we can restart the next session. Thank you. Thank you.